So now we're going to put in the backlight LEDs, which we have to do before we think about putting in the tubes or anything else. And for this, we're going to need a whole bunch of 1K resistors. There's 19, there's probably a few more. There's going to be an MPSA 42 and 3 2N7000s and the actual RGB LEDs themselves. So this is a long step. I'm going to show you the first one and then do the rest off camera. It's just too long a process to do on camera, and it's just doing one thing but 6 times. So not much value in that. So first of all, we're going to put in R17, which is hard to find. Hold on. So R17 is up here, and let's put that guy in. Then we will build the circuits which control the RGB LEDs and the underlights. So first of all, we have an MPSA 42. That is Q6, and Q6 goes on the end here. Now it's different from the others because this one, the MPSA 42, is capable of withstanding 200 volts or 300 volts, I think even. And it's used to drive the neons in the tick LEDs if you decide to put them in. So I've soldered one lead and I'm going to trim the rest. I'm going to do them all in one go in a minute. Now the 2N7000. These are slightly static sensitive, so try not to handle them too much. They're a bit tricky to handle, but once they're in circuit, they're fine. They don't tend to get destroyed too easily, but just yeah, don't provoke them. So I'm mounting these guys not too close to the board. Each of the RGB channels is controlled by one of the MPSA, 2N7000s. So okay. I do it this way, soldering one lead, because the pads are quite tricky, and I find it easier to solder them in when you don't have the rest of the lead there. So not having the long lead there kind of lets you get in on top of it and melt your solder over the top of it. Okay. Now, I'm going to do just this RGB LED here, show you the test of it, then put the rest in, and show you the status at the end when they're all in. Okay. So first of all, we need 3 1K resistors. And these are actually, they're limiting the current to each of the channels. So one for the R, one for the G, and one for the B. They have to be individually there, because otherwise the LEDs, well, the manufacturing tolerances mean that they come out of the factory a bit different from each other, and you get some which are kind of dominant and some which are less dominant, and having the resistors then balances out the differences in the manufacturing. So people often think you can just use one resistor and run loads of LEDs off it. If you get really, really lucky, it might work. But who's lucky? I am sometimes, not all of the time. So a good design is going to have the resistors there. So now on the LED, you can see that one of the pins is longer than the rest, and one of the pins on the board is actually marked with a little round circle, little dot. The longest pin goes in the space with the dot. Okay, I'm going to push it quite tight to the board, and now let's test. I'm not going to solder it yet. Let's just test if we're getting the test colors coming through. Red, green, blue, space. Red, green, blue, space. Perfect. That's the test pattern we expect. So just make it sit upright, and then so the pads on this footprint have been designed to allow you to solder them easily. So again, I'm going to trim off the extras, make sure that it is completely upright. And the idea behind the way the pads are laid out is you can put the soldering iron on the large part of the pad, and that allows the solder to flow in nicely. So okay, very good. Now after doing each one, have a quick test. Red, green, blue, space. Okay, so I'll do the rest now and come back to you when it's done. Okay, it's all soldered up, and let's do a test of it. So as you can see, the 6 LEDs, and above each of them, directly above each of them, are the 3 resistors used for it. Bearing in mind on these boards, there's versions where the tubes are on the same side of the components. There's also versions where the tubes are actually flipped on the other side, and of course in that case you have to put the LEDs on the other side. So anyway, test up. Okay, there's a problem on the red channel on this one, so I guess there's a little solder bridge, so it goes RAGB. So between these two there must be a solder bridge. Don't know whether you can see that, but so let's just clean it up. Okay, let's try again. Okay, we're all good. That's that step done. I got to the end of the build and realized I had skipped a step, and that was to install R37. So this guy is the base resistor for the MPSA 42, and I got to the end of the build, installed the neons, and then realized that they weren't working, and so don't forget to put in R37.